Hi, it's Bishop Tom Dowd. I'm here to offer you an analogy. This is by special request. This is an analogy that tries to explain the sacraments of initiation and as well the sacrament of reconciliation, which adds a restoration of our initiation. So some of us may be wondering, what the heck am I talking about? I know that when we start to speak about sacraments and spiritual things, it can seem a little complicated, so that's why I like to use analogies. So this analogy I call the analogy of the cell phone. So I have here an old cell phone of mine, and I can tell you it works fine, but if I press the button here, you can see nothing is happening. So in order for the cell phone to work, I mean, as it is right now, it would make a great paperweight. If I was outside, the wind was blowing, I could put this down, it would hold the papers in place. Doesn't have much use apart from that. To make it useful, I have to hit the power button. There you go. Now we can see that it started to come on, and in a few seconds, it will activate and it will start to have this potential, this capacity to be used as more than just a paperweight. So we give that a few seconds. Android is starting. Perfect. Okay, so you can see I have a screen with a few icons. I use this one mainly for taking pictures. So if I turn on the camera function, there we go. So, heck, it can even do selfies. All right. So I can take a picture. You can see that's the selfie I just took with it. It has this capacity to function. Turning on the cell phone, that is the equivalent of baptism. When we get baptized, our soul is there. Our body and soul are united, but we want to activate the soul through the grace of God. And so just like power needs to come into the phone, power needs to come into our soul, and it comes from the outside. That is the grace of God coming into our soul. So turning it on, that is baptism. Now, sometimes our baptism needs to be renewed. Think of your cell phone. Have you ever had a time when you were using your phone and suddenly it started to freeze? You were tapping icons, nothing was happening, maybe the keyboard was wonky. When those things happen, when it gets buggy, we need to reboot. So I can tap the power button and I can hit restart. So if I tap restart, it will shut off and then it will start up again. That is reconciliation. Our soul can get buggy when we commit sins. Those sins start to slow us down spiritually. They can even cause our soul to freeze up completely and not be able to function. Thankfully, just like with your cell phone, if it does that, you don't throw it in the garbage, you start with a restart. Our soul has the ability to restart as well. And so it's working again. When we go to confession, when we do the sacrament of reconciliation, sometimes it's called the second baptism, a time when our soul gets restored. Now, there is another feature on this phone. If I come a bit closer, you can see that there is a percentage at the top. That is the power, currently sitting at 82%. This thing has a limited charge. It will drop over time just by leaving it alone, or if I use it intensely, it'll drop more. How many of us plug in our cell phone every night to charge it up? The charging of the phone, the use of the charger, that is communion. When we go and receive communion, we receive the grace of God. This is a sacrament that repeats on a regular basis, just like charging your phone repeats on a regular basis. It's the way we keep ourselves filled with this constant presence, keeping ourselves at 100% or as close to as possible so that we're constantly being renewed with that power, with that grace of God in us. Finally, I'm explaining these in the order that people often receive them. And so we start with baptism when we're young, reconciliation and first communion, and then second, third, fourth, all the communions after. And then for young people, very often, they then receive the sacrament of confirmation. So to explain that, suppose I open Chrome here. So I'm opening up a web browser, and this thing gives me a message. It says, no internet connection. this is a problem. Obviously, if I have no internet connection, as you can see at the top, what am I supposed to do? Now, it's better than a paperweight. At least it's on. I was able to take a picture before. But because, isn't it true that our phones are so much better when we have Wi-Fi? Or if we're in an area with cell phone coverage and we've got data? I mean, how many of us, I'm thinking of young people, you go to your friend's house, the first question you ask is, what's the Wi-Fi password? Because you want to be able to get on and use it. Well, same thing here. This represents our soul, and our souls are individual, but our souls are designed to be networked together. We're not called to be relating to God individually, but relating to God as a group. And so what God does when we get confirmed, it confirms us in that network. It's like God places the Wi-Fi password of heaven into our soul. And that way we all become networked with each other. We become part of this giant spiritual network that we call the church. And in the afterlife, it's called heaven. That's what this is meant to be. And so confirmation is saying, I want to be part of the network. I want to receive that connection with everyone else. So those are the sacraments of initiation. Baptism turns it on. Communion charges it up, regularly repeats, keeps it charged. Confirmation puts the Wi-Fi password in, and reconciliation reboots so that all of those things can be restored. That's what the sacraments of initiation and reconciliation are for. That's what you are being invited to. Amen.